think what you talked about earlier, could be the biggest opportunities for a lot of us. And also in your book, you talk quite a bit about outsourcing. So like, do you recommend particular companies? Like, how do you actually go about this? A lot of us just work 80 hours a week. How do we actually start doing that, do the outsourcing and all this stuff?
So outsourcing, I would take a step back and look at it as being very good at focusing on your unique capability or capabilities, and then eliminating or delegating the rest. Okay, so the first step is not to say, how can I take this really inefficient process and impose it on someone else, but do I need this process at all? If no, eliminate. If you absolutely need the process, how do I streamline it? How do I remove steps? That's what Toyota does. So in lean manufacturing, they'll have people who are most effective in a given role define the steps in that process and then try to remove steps of that process. So try to eliminate first. Second is then delegating. Now, there are a lot of ways to delegate. So I don't know if you guys can see this shirt. It says legalize LA. It's not about marijuana. It's about immigration. I won't go into that. But I took a tour of the American Apparel factory yesterday in LA. And a lot of people would say, oh my God, that's the antithesis of everything you do, because it's all vertically integrated, everything's done in-house. And I was like, no, it really isn't, because if you look at Dove, the guy who runs the company, he's running the company from New York via cell phone and laptop. And he's not there putting together shirts himself. He knows the process well enough that he could, but that's not what he does. That's not what he's best at. He's good at a lot of other things. So you don't have to send work to India, to Croatia, to the Philippines, even though I've done that, and I still do in some cases. It could just be a city in the U.S. with a higher unemployment rate. You're going to get lower hourly fees as a result of that. So for a few suggestions, really there are only a few sites that I use. Elance would be one. I still think they have the largest marketplace of talent, and I also think as we go into a recession, or for people who want more dramatic terms, a depression, then it will offer some very interesting opportunities for freelancers and startups to use marketplaces like Elance to sell, let's say, to customers who pay in British pounds. Mm-hmm. That's what I would be doing. And that's, in fact, what I'm doing in some cases. And it's not really a short-term currency play. I don't want to get into currency too much. But so the dollar, that's another thing. I don't think the dollar is going to crash. I just spent the last 2 days with chief economists and currency traders. It's had a 25 to 35% gain against the euro in the last 3 months. Wow. So I don't think we need to be too worried. The first, so Elance, and then there's a site called Ask Sunday, which I've tested extensively. If you go to tryAskSunday.com, I think you can get a week trial, actually, if they're still offering that. And that's the only digital concierge service that I have on speed dial on my phone. It's a 212 number. You call it. You get 30 tasks for $60 a month. It's a no-brainer. I mean, even if you're just pranking your friends, that's worth it. And what I would say about any type of outsourcing, delegating, hiring, it's a very similar process. What I talk about in the book with virtual assistants and personal outsourcing just happens to be much more cost-effective in most cases than hiring full-time personnel. Test for reliability before skill set. All right. So what I'll do on Elance, for example, is I will put up a project. So let's take the one project. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. That's fine. But a friend of mine, this is a year and a half ago, I was telling him about outsourcing, and he's a professional UFC trainer. All right. So Ultimate Fighting. And he's like, dude, I can't outsource anything. Give me a break. He's like, I don't need Excel spreadsheets. And he said, there's certain things you just can't outsource. I go, okay, like what? And he goes, well, we were having a lot of wine, keep in mind. And he goes, like dating. Like you have to go put in your FaceTime. And this is in Man Jose, otherwise known as San Jose. And so I said, okay, I'll outsource my dating for 4 weeks, fine. Like, and if I win, you have the bottle, buy me the bottle of wine of my choice. I was like, okay, fine. So I went on to Elance, and this is a ridiculous example, but because he was like, I can't outsource this, I can't outsource my email. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll outsource my dating. If I can do that, you can outsource your email. I went on Elance, and I put up a project description, all right? And the first thing I did immediately was there was you'll get auto responses from people who just send a response to anything, eliminate those. Then you get your top 10, let's say. For those top 10, ask them to do something that takes about 20 minutes and have the deadline be like 24 hours later. If they don't meet that deadline, they're out. And then you have a smaller task like, let's say, finding 10 matching profiles. So I had a spec sheet and everything, and like performance bonuses and guarantees and everything. And so finding like 10 matching profiles that they thought satisfied the criteria that I had set. Okay, that's the second step. And the second disqualifier. That's another 12 to 24 hour deadline. Doesn't require a lot of skill, but if they don't hit the deadlines, they're out. And then from that point, it's all performance based. And long story short, I had 30 coffee dates in 2 days, and ended up with a long-term girlfriend who's no longer a long-term girlfriend, but it did work better than all of my clever behavior and going out and mingling and everything, which is depressing or enlightening depending on how you look at it. And for those guys in the audience, the most successful title, so I'm all about testing, right? I'm really an analytics whore. It's embarrassing. But the most effective subject line in Match.com, so I always thought you have to be clever, you have to get like the attention. It's like, oh, Shakespearean, like athlete in San Jose with blah, 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 haha, oh, I'm so clever. The most effective line was need a date. Need a date, all lowercase. I was like, all right. So I test, don't trust your gut in a lot of cases, unless it's with people. All right.
Have you been testing on Mesh.com?
No, okay. Not recently,
I just wonder how you know that.
Yeah, no.